just tremendously excited to lead our defense moving forward and work alongside Mark Hagan and Casey Teagard and Brandon Shelby, guys that I've gotten to know really over the last couple of years. Tom brought his staff down to South Alabama and got to meet those guys, spend time with them, talk ball with them. Now I've gotten to know their families and just a tremendous group of guys that I'm excited to get to work with. And I think our players are really hungry. I think, we make no bones about it. The end of the season left a bad taste in our mouths, and I think that we all know that we're capable of a whole lot more, and I think we're excited to begin the work in that. So really an exciting challenge for us, and the opportunity to work with Tom in this role now as the defensive coordinator and with him as the head coach is really, I get emotional somewhat thinking about it, just because it's been something that I've dreamed of for a very long time, to work for a guy that I believe in, that I trust, that I know, and to be able to do that hand in hand and accomplish the things that he has set for our team on a macro level, to be able to put my full weight and influence behind our defense is just really a dream come true for me.
Can I ask questions? Zach and then Andy.
I guess, obviously, other than you working as coordinator now, do you envision a lot changing in terms of positional responsibilities? Do you lean on the other guys a little bit more in some areas?
No, I'll still handle our linebacking core. I'm a fundamental guy. So at every position, we will speak at the very first thing that we do as we install our defense. I say just kind of rehash our defense at this time of the year when we kind of get off the road recruiting in February. We'll spend time and we'll go through every single position group and talk through from the defensive line to the back end, what is it that we're looking for at every single position, every single technique that's played on the field, and then it'll be the responsibility to each of those coaches, once we get on the same page about what we're doing, they got to go execute it, and they got to go get their guys to do it. And ultimately, that falls on my shoulders, the responsibility of our defensive execution, and I'll hold those guys accountable. But I kind of run the room where we all hold ourselves accountable once we establish what we want to get done. From that standpoint, I think it's something that we're all on the same page of.
You talk about this being kind of a dream position for you. Talk about when you first met Tom and when you coached with him, what impressed you then, and then how has he changed any now that you've gotten to know him in this context here now?
No, that's a really good question. I think it's hard to miss the energy and tempo that he brings into any task he's trying to accomplish. And so without question, I remember when Tom and my dad were at Arkansas State together, which was their first stop. Just a person that has such a passion for this game and such a passion for the people that he's around. I think he's a guy that lights up a room just with the energy intensity that he brings every day. And so for us to have that relationship where we've gotten to work alongside each other in different roles, both as assistants together, or I say him an assistant, myself a graduate assistant, and then talking as coordinators together at different places, and then now working as an assistant for him, as him being the defensive coordinator, and now my role as defensive coordinator and all that. It's just we've built relationships on so many different facets and levels that I think both of us could basically go through a situation together and anticipate and know what the other guy's going to do, and that's a really nice relationship to be able to have when you're looking at a stress environment that we deal in on a day-to-day basis.
Stu, and then Matt.
How does this change your responsibilities when it comes to recruiting? Obviously, before you were primarily looking at the linebackers, maybe Huskies a little bit, that sort of thing. How does that change as far as that goes?
Well, I'm a person who believes that I'm gonna take the reins and run with it and go as hard as I can at every position that we need to. And then when Tom makes the ultimate decision in terms of our personnel, and so I'll have a hand in every position that we do. I know what our defense needs from a personnel standpoint, from a defensive tackle all the way to a corner. And so I know what we need, I know what we're looking for, and I know what we have to accomplish in this league, especially after being in it for a year. you know, my understanding and expertise for this league and what we need in this defense, I feel like I got a pretty good handle on that.
Matt?
When you went into Eastern Illinois and South Alabama, there's obviously new personnel, new system. You had to learn everybody here. You've been here for a year. They've been playing the system. Not that it's easy, but how much, I guess, smoother, maybe flattens the learning curve a little bit, that you know the guys, they know the system, and it's you know, you don't have to kind of introduce yourself to everybody in a new system.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a really different dynamic from the two places that I took over as coordinator before. Both those programs had struggled a little bit on their sides of the ball respectively, and you know, I went into a position where nobody knew the system. I didn't bring anybody with me. You know, you're coming into a very different scenario with this, where our coaching staff has been involved in the system for a number of years. Our players are going into year 4, you know, the ones that have been here and running this system. And so, you know, my dad, who we both learned the system from, will tell you the system evolves year to year based off of the personnel and what you need in the league that you're in. And we'll always evolve and do some things. We're never going to do everything the same with the 2016 defense and the 2018 defense. The 2019 defense will do some different things, but at the same time, just our comfort level and knowing exactly what I have to get accomplished over the next 8 months until we start the new season, there's definitely an easier learning curve from that regard.
Zach?
Just to kind of, I guess, bounce off that, what do you think, as you've both obviously kind of worked in the defense in a number of different spots and worked with Coach Allen, how do you think maybe the way that you two think about what this system can do has evolved?
You're talking about what him and I, the differences, or just what we think?
What, I mean, what you think, just the way the scheme has evolved for the two
Yeah.
of you.
Well, I think, you know, and it's really, the scheme has evolved so many different facets over, you know, a 38-year career that my dad had, and really, I'd say probably the last 20 years were what he was doing, and some things that we kind of took. You didn't have to deal with, even up a couple years ago, you didn't have to deal with some of what I call the vertical RPO game, which is, you know, those run pass options that they're now. It used to be just throw a bubble screen out to the left or the right in the sideline, everybody go chase the ball and get it down. Right now, teams are starting to stretch you vertically down the field and still have the ability to run the football, and you got to make a split-second decision. And so some of the things that we've had to adapt our defense in that regard has changed. And then the next week, you know, you go play a team like Michigan State that gets in 22 personnel. So it has to be a very versatile system in this league, but you also have to be able to play the length of the field and the width of the field, both vertically and horizontally, and then you also got to be able to get in there and play some big boy football. So that is certainly something this league challenges you.
Peaks and then Matt?
Kane, when you look at this defense in a kind of macro level, personnel-wise,
Yeah.
what do you have to work with? Do you like what you have?
I do. I think we've got a tremendous group of young, talented players. I think we've got some older guys that have built up experience in this defense that are excited about kind of their juniors and senior years. But, you know, I don't think I think we're all on the same page that we've recruited really well the last couple of years, and the personnel that we have, this young talent that's coming in. You know, we took some licks with some of those guys, you know, this year, but they gained phenomenal experience, and some of them played at a very high level. So for us, I think that we've got a really good group. I think, you know, you're losing a couple guys on the interior defensive line. I think that we've worked hard to kind of address some of those issues from a recruiting standpoint. I think we've done that. You know, time will tell, obviously, how those guys pan out, and they got to develop and they got to do their job. But, you know, the work that Mark Hagan does, I have total confidence in what he does. I've worked in the defensive line. I've coached the defensive line in this system. It's something that I care deeply about, and it really all starts up front from that standpoint. But I think making sure that our defensive line up front, especially on the interior, will be probably the biggest focus that we need to address.
Matt?
That was kind of my question, but obviously you mentioned playing a lot of young guys. You always say you get better from game 1 to game 2.
Mm-hmm.
Is your belief that guys really improve from year 1 to year 2 when they played as much as they have? And obviously at safety, your position linebacker, you play a lot of first-year guys,
Yeah.
some D linemen. I mean, how excited are you to get those guys in year 2 and see how much growth they've made?
No, there will be a tremendous improvement with some of these guys going from year 1 to year 2. It just, you know, and that's experience talking and just seeing these guys and the way they adjust. we're able to play young players because we keep the defense simple enough for young people to come in, learn it, and go execute at a high level. So for them to even come in and be able to play and execute, I think our defense allows that. But then when they get that experience, they get into year 2 and they go, oh, I've seen this, or I know this, or I anticipate this a little bit better, is really a major deal for us in terms of that year 1 to year 2 transition.
Jim?
When Coach got here, it was not very good defensively. Obviously, he changed that culture, did a
Right.
great job, put his stamp on it. What can you do to put your stamp on this defense now going forward?
No, I think that's a really good question. I'm a culture guy, and I'm a fundamentals guy. So what I want to do is at times when you have some younger guys out there on the field, I thought Coach led us really well with a young group of guys to be able to just go out and execute and do their jobs. But at times I think there were times on the field where we went and we executed and did our job, but there was a certain swagger that you have to play with in this league that you saw in 2016 and 17 that probably with some younger players we didn't get to see as much of in 2018. And I think Coach knew that, he recognized that and anticipated, and we adjusted our defense accordingly. But I think the thing that I really look forward to building is a swagger and a confidence in our group that when we walk on that field, we're 11 bad jokers that are ready to inflict our will onto our opponents. So that's something that I think is really exciting about this group of players because they're a pretty hungry group, and some of them got a nasty edge about themselves that allows you to create a culture that guys want to be a part of.
All right, thanks, Kane. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.